Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Vox Vomitus. I am your host, Jennifer Ann Gordon, the author of the Kindle award-winning novel Beautiful, Frightening, and Silent, Pretty Ugly, as well as the Hotel series. I can't believe I botched the title of my own book.
Your own book.
My own book. Joining me today, as always, is my Vox Vomitus vixen, Allison Martine, author of the Bourbon books. See, I can say bourbon very well. I've had practice.
And you're not even drinking.
I'm impressed. Yeah. The Bourbon books includes Dibs Since September, Move on Melinda, and Climb the Salmon Ladder. Joining us today, again, for her second appearance on our show, love having return guest, is Kim Taylor Blakemore, author of the soon-to-be-released historical mystery, The Deception. Yes. Welcome back, Kim.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
We're so happy to have you. You are so cute. I'm just going to say you're so cute, period. And then right after we had you on our show last time, I feel like you messaged me so soon after that. And you were like, I have another book coming out in September. Can I come back? And I'm like, yes.
Just to note, it is never too soon. Authors out there, you have a book coming out in 2025. We are booking now. You want to come on our show, tell us now. We probably won't remember, so you're going to tell us again.
Yeah, you're going to have to tell us.
Don't take my spot for the next book. So.
No, Kim, if you have another
warn everyone out there.
We'll get that
we'll just mark it on the calendar for next year. So, Kim, we're so excited to have you back. Allison and I both finished The Deception a few days ago now. I started it a little bit later than Allison, but what I always end up doing is I read for a couple hours and then I sit down the next day and I'm like, I'm just going to read for an hour. And then I finished your entire book that day.
I can pace myself. She has no self-control.
That's self-control.
Just, none at all. None at all.
I start late and then I binge an entire book in one day.
That's fun, so I'm always you get all into the book.
Yeah. Right. Well, and I get like that. I know for this one, I especially was like, okay, reading a little bit each day. And then the third day, I finished all of it because once a few things happened that it's like, well, I'm not able to actually stop now. So I will have to get through it because I need to know where things are going and also what happens.
And Allison's usually a couple days ahead of me in the reading schedule. So she always tells me, she said, if you get to the 50% mark, you're not going to put it down. So just be aware of that.
Does she give you spoiler alerts?
I would never
know. Sometimes I ask her and she refuses.
But I do know there are certain things she can't handle, like animals being hurt. There is a dog in the book. The dog's fine. So if there was ever any worry about, is there an animal getting hurt? I would be like, maybe don't read this.
Yeah. Or anything weird with eyeballs. I'm like,
I forget about that one. Or weird foods, because she's also a vegan. So we've had some where just what's being eaten is just too much for her. So she's like, no. Sharon Carlson Person says, hi from Minnesota.
Hi, Sharon. I just saw Sharon at BOWERY.
Oh, we were talking about BOWERY before we went live. I had total fear of missing out. The whole time I was seeing pictures from it going, oh, damn it.
Seriously, there were probably 5 different author conferences all going on within 2 weeks of each other. Some people were at both, and then I'm just going, how do I get your life? But some people were at WorldCon, and there was BOWERY, and then there was something else.
Story Fest was also this weekend.
There was also something in Grand Rapids area, maybe. I don't know. Some of these I might just be making up. So if I just invented a literary conference, we're all going next year.
Okay. And we all won awards at it. So
all of us did.
Yeah. All the 3 of us. We just got big giant, they're on gold chains.
Yeah.
The Grand Rapids
Flavor Flav.
Yeah.
Elisa Bunchwoman wants to know, when will the Voxcom debut? I don't know, Elisa, as it is, we're still trying to figure out which Goodwills and Salvation Armies to hit for the Voxies for next year. After Kelly Hitchcock made her own, we're now kind of contractually obligated to do that and use Sharpies to just write on best and then make up categories, because that's what we do.
Yeah, those were the awards we gave out, our imaginary awards that we gave out last year. So Kim, you could totally be in the running for any number of awards, including best use of 1800s animatronic birds.
Oh, yes. Okay, those birds
Let's
are
talk
weird.
about that.
Let me talk about
Yeah.
the birds.
Is there not already an automaton category? I'm making one now. So, Kim, you're a nominee.
Well,
for this
what
one. I don't
about
know
the
many we have.
eyeballs? She had eyeballs.
She had eyeballs like in a case, and I'm like, oh, but I knew those were just like doll's eyes, so it was fine.
That's not better. That's not better, Jen.
It's grosser, actually, to have them all in little boxes, right? To choose from which colors you're going to use. No, so I was really into 19th century. As I was researching this, I talked to this guy who is a historical conjurer, and what he does is he does 19th century magic all over the country. And I was like, anything I do that Clem does, I need to make sure you can do.
Right.
Any of her illusions, or when she snaps her finger and it's like got flames on it. You know, it's like, I hope that works. And
like,
he sort
could they do that then?
Yeah. And he sort of got me on to like, you should look at, animatronic things. Automatons is what they were called at the time.
Yeah, this isn't Disneyland, Jen. There's no animatronics.
It's my kind of Disneyland.
It was fascinating to me because they would be, they would make ones that would be so creepy that were like the size of a child that would sit and ghost write.
Love that.
And then hand the paper. There's one that's really famous, and it is a silver swan. It's huge. And it literally just all the things ruffle in silver, and then the wings move and the neck moves and all of that's really cool. And then the birds were really big, just trying to make those birds so they put these tiny bellows in them so they'd chirp. You could wind them up, and the wings would go and they'd put real.
Okay,
well,
and I'm just confused because I'm wondering, like, okay, were they supposed to be things that would actually fool people thinking they were real, or did they know this was this magical thing that was not animated by real life? Because I'm just thinking of, now I'm going to forget, The Prestige. Yeah, The Prestige, where he's like, yes, there's another bird, but it's because we killed his brother. And I'm just going, how many birds could we have saved if we had automatons instead of like squash the bird?
Magic. Except the problem was it was at the time period where the hats were starting to have feathers, and then they had feathers for the automaton birds, and it took out, killed the birds. They killed the birds. There was a whole group of women who were like, stop killing the birds for the hats and everything, because they put full on birds on their heads.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I looked in my costume closet today for a hat because I have a lot of hats, and I'm like, do I have any that have like a bird on it? And I don't, but I do have a bird here that I was gonna.
That's a good one. I was gonna
have one of those.
Put it in my hair.
Just put the bird on your head. You don't even need a hat.
Just put it around your ear. There you go.
Beautiful. Instead of like the flower, the big carnation. Another carnation.
Now he's dead.
Hibiscus.
Now it's
and now he's stuck in your. Oh, Jen.
It's fine. It's fine. Glamorous. Podcasting's glamorous, everybody. For those of you who are just listening to the audio, I had a bird upside down stuck to my ear.
There was,
but it was beautiful. It was a raven. Yeah, it went with your outfit and your hair.
Yeah, it was all very.
And my brand.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, good for my Jen's brand is ravens, broken dolls, and really big hair. So there you go.
And big hair. Kim, so. As I said, I want to own one of these birds. Were you able to find any that you could see? And
I could see them on YouTube. There is in London, there is a museum of automatons. Oh. And so they do little shows, and they bring out different ones that they're fixing or that are really cool. They have ones that walk and chirp, and they have the dolls. And I believe it's San Diego. So next year in BoucherCon, we should go find the big automaton place, which is the humans, which are creepy as.
Okay, where are these?
Go to that.
The one of them is in London.
Where's the other one?
I think it's in San Diego. I remember going, I'm going to go there, and it was.
Okay, because I was just about to tell my friends who are in the general UK area to go to this museum for me and take pictures. I'm close enough I can get to San Diego, but I've never heard of this. So now I'm going to have to look up.
I'll have to find that. I have to find that for you.
Yeah.
Creepy Doll Museum.
Creepy Doll Museum, San Diego.
Well, and if it says Creepy Doll Museum, I would have skipped it because I'm scared of creepy dolls. But automatons they're like a creepy doll cousin. So
They're
I
worse
feel like
than creepy
I think
dolls.
they're worse
Yeah.
than creepy dolls as long as
they are,
you
because they're already moving and you're
are already
going
moving. And I feel like if I were a ghost and there was an already moving doll, I would definitely try to possess that as opposed to a doll that didn't already move, because then I think I
it
could
has to
trick
move.
people easier. Also, then people wouldn't
But
like.
then they do their eyes, like their eyes will travel with you and they'll turn their head funny. And
Kim, that's just a picture of Jesus watching
Yeah,
over her.
when I was little,
but
I
then you
remember
get see, you can
Oh.
figure out all the interior parts of it.
That's so cool.
The interior parts
That
that all
is
make
not from your
everything
book,
move.
is it? Because I'm going.
Pardon?
That was not in my copy.
Yeah, this is my cop. No, this is
the
literally a
author's
book called 507 Mechanical Movements, because I had to determine what could work that she could do. So Clementine makes the fingers all do their own things, right? So how
Yes.
does she do that and connect it to an arm and then pull it from the back and have the thing? So
I
She
love
really was
the
a girly
research you do.
Imagineer. I love it.
I do it, but you do like 5 hours of research for one sentence.
Mhm.
Yes.
But that's okay. Everything's underneath it, right? It's like
Yes,
the Titanic iceberg.
It is. And I always just feel like, the work that we as authors do, like so much of it nobody sees. And I feel like
Right.
it's the same as like actors. They put a lot of like stuff into their characters, like before
Yeah.
they go
But
on
Jen,
stage.
An actor prepares. Sorry.
I had,
prepared.
I used to be in theater when I was in my 20s, and there was a really great director I worked with, and she would have you take your script, and you didn't highlight your own lines. You highlighted first what everyone said about you.
That's what my
Ooh.
professor had me
Yours
do
too?
in
It's
college.
fantastic. You
Same
just like
director.
that, and you get the character.
Yeah, I would have to
Right?
like underline everything somebody said about my character.
Yes.
And then you're like, okay, this is how the world sees you. And then you have to figure out how like you see yourself, what there's like, what of what they're thinking and saying about you is true.
Yeah.
Oh, it's incredible.
It is incredible, isn't it? And it's like
I
such
took
a
2
great
acting
shortcut.
classes and we didn't do that, so I kind of want my money back for those 2 acting.
You have to get to number 3. It's
Oh,
course
It's
3.
the third acting
We
class.
made it.
Yeah.
I would not have been allowed at number 3. They're like, you go back over there. Get out. No, but
Well, so you do.
Go
I
ahead.
have a book. I'll show you this book. Clementine does all her things with potassium and phosphorus and all that. So I found a book called Chemical Magic.
Ooh.
And it literally is like stuff you can't put on the internet. Because at first I was taking
Yeah.
pictures of it like, oh man, that's really cool. I can put in spontaneous fires and how you do it. And I was like, no, you can't put that on Instagram because I will get a.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that book might get you arrested, Kim. So maybe just hide that
Okay.
one. But
All right.
I
Louis
just want to say
and-
hi to Scratch.
Okay, so
Look.
do you know how to pronounce his last name? Is it I4 or I4?
Well,
I'm going to
you can
botch it.
call him Scratch. It's
Okay.
like Lucifer, but his name is Mr.
Oh.
Scratch.
I love
Okay, Mr.
this.
Scratch says the Automaton Museum in York closed in 96. Okay, so UK people, forget it. The Morris Museum in New Jersey has a collection of about 100 plus automata, and he says hiya back. Here he is.
Thank
I'm
you.
putting back his informational one. So
I have to go to New Jersey now just to see them because they're beautiful and weird at the same time.
Yes.
Things that that's kind of how I feel about puppets in general. I both am in love with them and I'm terrified of them, which is why when I was a small child, my mom looked high and low to get me a hand and rod puppet. We never found like a proper one. We got one that just kind of hung around you. And then I would have it in the closet and insist the closet be closed. But then if I couldn't see him, I didn't know if he was plotting to murder me because I was fairly certain he was plotting to murder me. His name was Trenton. I named him after New Jersey. I don't know why. We're back to New Jersey.
We're back to New Jersey. It all comes back to New Jersey. When I was little, we had one of those monkeys with the cymbals that screeches
Oh yeah.
in our basement, and I was so petrified of it. And my dad would always like call me down to the basement to like get laundry or something. He'd be hiding in our coal bin, and he would like take the monkey out and make it go like, and I was just like,
your dad is evil.
So now you were traumatized of monkeys, cymbals, and basements and laundry.
Now,
and
isn't
laundry.
That's the cover of Skeleton Crew, is it not?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. That's the Stephen King right there.
So I mean,
It's creepy.
It's creepy. Toys can be creepy.
Mhm.
Yes.
Toys can be
Toys
creepy.
generally are creepy. Even
Mhm.
I'll be in putting my little one to bed and something will just start making noise because they're all just like, hey, whatever. We get one that just turns off after a while, but when it turns off, it has to say, okay, bye-bye.
No,
Could it not?
I don't want that. I don't want that in my
I
life.
don't even. Don't have children in your house. They bring things.
No,
Evil
I'm
things.
content with the ghosts in my house and not children. That's fine.
Yeah.
So Kim, I'm wondering how you kind of got onto the whole like Victorian era spiritualist movement. How did you decide that this was going to be kind of the setting for your new book? Because I will admit this is something that I'm hugely fascinated by. Absolutely love it. When I was in my 20s, after I went to school for theater, my job was an assistant to a psychic entertainer, and our show was the Victorian seance.
Wow.
But we did not have automatons or fire.
There are regulations
I'm
now
sorry.
probably against both of
Yeah,
these.
probably on both of them.
No
I know.
automatons.
Well, all three of the books have taken place in New Hampshire. So in New England, yes, as you know, the land of serial killers. Number 2 to the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
I think it's the trees. I think it's the massive amounts of trees in New Hampshire and the Pacific Northwest that
It just leads to murder.
I think we talked about that last time.
Yeah, because you live in the home of all
your
of the serial
neighborhood.
killers. Yeah. And I just live in like where like all the ghosts are.
That's right. That's right.
So,
So-
do they migrate? They get murdered in one place and then the ghost goes someplace
Yeah,
where
that's
it's
exactly
better
what they
living?
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what happens. They say they're going to Jennifer's house.
They're going to my house. They're like, Seattle is too expensive for us.
Too expensive. It rains too much.
Rains too much. We never even see the mountain.
So the spiritualist thing was one of the big sorts of, I don't even know what you would call them. New England was crazy for all these sort of movements, right? So you had the first great awakening of religion, the second great awakening of religion. The abolitionists came from there. The suffragists came from there, and women's rights. It was just like this massive, the transcendentalists, it was sort of this very unique place that all these things grew from, and spiritualism grew from that. Well, they grew from the two Fox sisters, the two girls who said they saw a ghost in their house, right? They went crazy from there.
Yeah.
And I was like, these people, this is so interesting to me. I ran across a book because I'd like to do, I think I've said this before, I really like primary sources. So I found one that was called The Autobiography of Mrs. J.H. Conant in 1877. And she was a medical psychic. And she literally,
psychic.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Medical
It was
psychic.
like when she was a little kid, she's walking down the street. So it's like 1850. And some dude comes up to her and says, I need you to go to this person's house. I'm Dr. Such and such. I need some help. This person needs help because they're whatever happened to them. And she's like, well, I don't know who you are, but I'll go with you. So she goes off.
As you do as a child in the 1800s.
Goes to
Don't
this
do that.
person's house. Yeah, you can do it now.
Don't do that.
And she went to the house and he told her what to do for this person medically, whatever. I can't remember what it was, broken ankle or something like that. And then he's like, okay, bye, thank you. And he turns out to be a ghost. He's her spirit guide.
So
I
a
can't remember
ghost
his name,
doctor.
Ghost
And
doctor
then
who
tells her
grabbed her.
what to
And
do.
she's
Going,
like,
why is
okay,
this guy
I'm a
not
child.
doing it himself? And why is he having a child do it? You couldn't find. I mean,
know.
you
I was like,
but
how
the
busy
child
is he
open
that
to
he's-
it?
All the way until she's an adult. He is her spirit guide. So she goes and does medical things. And then on top of it, she has
and she probably
seances
didn't
in
even
her
know how to
parlor.
read, when she was like a little girl.
Right, she was little, and so she started becoming very famous for this, and she would have also seances in her parlor, which was very common, and people would levitate and cheers and everything would go flying and whatever. By the time I got to the end of this book, I was like, she's either truly the greatest medium that has ever lived, the greatest fraud that has ever lived, or she needs to go to the asylum.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
generally how
After
those
Alice
things
fell,
work out.
right? Up
Like,
the hill.
You got your three choice. Lunatic,
Three choices.
liar. Yeah.
And I couldn't answer any of them. So I thought, okay, so what if people are going in to do a reading, they're going to see somebody they love, right? They're in mourning,
Yeah.
they really want to connect to someone. What does it matter the means to get there?
Yes.
Right? So that was
Well,
kind of
that's
the
what you
basis
kinda
for
kept-
doing the whole thing.
Yeah, I was going to say that was one of the big themes there is
Mhm.
just the idea of why are these people doing this and how do they view what they do? And it's clear, it's like, regardless of whether they're doing it from a place of, I actually do have a connection, or I am doing my research to create a connection.
Yeah.
If they're doing it from
providing a service.
I want to
Right.
help this person through their grief. I want to provide a sense of closure. I want to give some kind of
Yeah.
forgiveness where none could be given because the person fell out of a tree and are definitely dead. So that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
you know, then there's money, and
There's
I
money.
can't take your money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They'll give more money.
Some
But
more
then
money.
the ethics of that are really so complicated. They're not complicated.
You're like,
Yeah,
no,
they're
it's not
They're
good.
not complicated.
They're not
We don't need to
complicated.
debate that.
What
But
am I
they
gonna
were
debate it?
fuzzy at the time.
Yes. But and
Because
so
everybody was drinking laudanum tea, so everything was fuzzy.
everyone
at
was
the
just
time.
high.
That's when I haven't cleaned my glasses in a while. I'm like, everything's kind of, I just take them off. Now you guys are all fuzzy.
Yeah,
Oh, there you
exactly. There you go.
I had to wonder a little bit about Maud. Maud, your character,
Yes.
who is our medium in the book. And I love Maud. It's one of my favorite names. So I was very excited. Maud has a penchant for hats. And all I could think was, all of these hats, is she like going crazy because of the metal in the hats? And maybe that's it. Like I literally like got
That
really
as a
obsessed with the
hatter right
hats
there.
for a while. And I'm like, no, get off the hat thing, Jennifer. It's got nothing to do with the hats.
The sub-theme about hats was not something Kim meant for you to explore nearly as heavily as you did.
That was wow.
I went there. And then I'm like,
Sure.
nope, just keep reading the book.
No,
I should have added that in. That
I was like,
layer
she
of
has Mad
madness
Hatter
for her.
disease.
Yeah.
hey, it's
Yeah.
fun. I mean, but that's something that you do explore, the whole idea of, okay, people aren't sure whether or not this person's for real or not. And even going back to like the character Maud, she's been doing this since she was a child. And
Mhm.
whether a child has, well, does a child have agency to decide they want to do this, and where is this coming from, and her father and things her father did to her. So I love that we have so much gray matter, not brain, but just
Mhm.
gray issue going early with like, okay, so does she want to be doing this? Oh, it's this or the poorhouse. Okay,
Yeah.
kind of a problem then if she's got not married, she's got no other way to support herself.
Yeah.
She's been
She's
buying
gonna
a
lose that house.
Yeah,
She's-
she's gonna lose
she's
that
got-
big
she's
old
in-
weird house.
That really weird house.
I know.
That is
And
a
then-
weird house.
I love the house, but I
Love
also,
the
you were
house.
saying like, oh, are these things that Clem could have done? Well, yeah, in that house, you could pretty much do anything. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'd like to have rainbows appear. Oh, yeah, we can make that work probably.
Yeah, she'd be like, I could do that. It's all mirrors. That's all,
More
she
mirrors,
does all the
false
mirror tricks.
walls.
Clem was an incredible theatrical genius. Like the fact that,
Mhm.
like, you know, people are gonna love her and hate her sometimes. But I just found her
I've been
so.
getting feedback that people love Clementine.
I bet they do.
Tanya,
like,
do you
I
love
love
Clementine? Tanya
Tanya,
says,
I know
hi
Tanya.
Tanya.
love
Tanya,
Clementine.
Tanya wrote a great book, A Feigned Madness. She's
Yeah, she
amazing.
was on our show.
Yeah. So
we
so
love The
yeah.
Feigned
So
Madness.
okay, now with Maud, because she's an authentic medium, I did do research with mediums. I did interviews with mediums, which was fascinating.
She loved Maud. Or she loved Clem. Okay. Tanya's weighing in. She loved Clem.
I was very
Thank you.
attracted to Clem. I'm not gonna lie.
You would be.
Yeah.
She's your type.
She's my type. Wearing pants, smoking a pipe. I'm
Wears
like,
pants,
and
she's hot.
Clem is the bomb.
Yeah.
Throwing her
Yes.
name into all the clothes.
Into
These are mine now.
everything.
Leaving
Yes.
notes for everybody. List
I
of
love
notes. You must do. You must do. You must do. Time.
I know.
Yeah,
I love
nowadays
throwing
we're
notes on
just
everybody's
all-
door. Like, oh, okay. I guess you just do what Clem says, and she has like fantastic outfits.
Right. Do
Yeah.
not cross her.
No. Do not.
No.
Yeah,
do not
moms
cross her.
nowadays just will use Sharpie, but she's back there with the needle and thread writing her name and all. This is mine.
It's mine. All that orphanage stuff. I realized I was looking over the book and I had put her backstory in one chapter where she talks to Maud and she says what happened to her. And you don't know if it's a true story or not. But I had written that as like this 7-page chapter, like full on gothic, what happened to her and why her finger got cut off and what her father did and her mother being buried. And it was awful. I was like, this is even darker than this. I can't even put this in. This is so.
So
This,
is there
Jennifer,
a
you
newsletter
could
or
use it.
something somewhere we can subscribe to get the extra
I know,
bonus
I'm
content
like-
of what happened?
When I get time in the next couple of months, I'm going to write a short story called Clementine Before. And it's going to be
Yes.
one of the stories about her before this happened, this
Oh,
book.
I
So
would
it might be
love
that very dark part, or it might be when she starts doing The Birds with Mrs. King, who is
Mrs.
based on
who?
Mrs. J.H. Conant. That's the woman she was with before, where she learned how to do all this stuff.
Did you
And
say
then
King or Keen?
King.
Okay.
King.
Okay, because Keen was mentioned as a location,
Yes.
and I'm
Keen
going.
is a location.
And that's my maiden name, so I hear Keen and I perk up, and I'm going. Was
You're
I
like,
in the book and I missed it?
What?
I didn't see it, but that's why.
No,
but
the
when I
town
was in law
named
school-
after your family was in the
Well,
book.
yeah. Well, and when I was in law school, I had a friend, and her last name was King. And seriously, every time a professor would call a Keen or King, we're just like, I don't know, just call us by our first names because this is just we can't understand. You're not enunciating.
Is Keen really named after your family?
I don't think so. No, my family has nobody important enough to have names named after them.
Allison, you should have just gone with it.
No, sorry, I'm not going to aggrandize the only thing. Like, I'm not even related to Carolyn Keene because that's a pseudonym. So, like, I remember growing up going, "Look, there's an author with my," and they're like, "That's not even a real name." I'm like,
what about Katie Keene, the comic book girl, the pinup queen?
I don't know anything about her.
She was a fashion model. She's in the Archie universe.
Really?
Okay,
Yeah.
she's
I know,
she's a character.
She's a character. She's
Okay,
fictional.
so then maybe I could be related to an animated person. That's more
There
likely.
we go. So if anybody ever asks, just be like, "No, I'm related to Katie Keene."
I'm related to Katie Keene. I'm 80% Muppet. I might as well be like 20% animated. That's fine.
Yeah, that's perfect. That goes together. But you're not the Eagle Muppet. You're not Sam the Eagle.
You're not my boyfriend, Sam the Eagle.
No,
Sorry.
obviously not.
Sorry.
Kim, who's your favorite
Allison.
Muppet? Oh, sorry. I'm like,
Well, I mean, I have to
Go
say
ahead.
Red Travel because that's the one I dressed up as in
You're
like
Red
fifth grade, and nobody knew what the heck I was dressed up as with like the ping pong balls on my head because homemade costume. But for a long time, I also very strongly associated as a gelfling. But my ears aren't there, and I'm not nearly thin enough anymore to be a gelfling. Also, I don't have wings. Very sad. Anyway, this has nothing to do with your book. Back on
That's okay.
Spiritualist. All right, focus.
well, no, we need to hear
I
Kim's
said,
favorite.
last time we talked about Bigfoot. I'm fine with all of it.
fine.
We just do Muppets from now on. That's cool.
So, Kim, answer the question. Favorite Muppet?
My favorite Muppet is Oscar the Grouch.
Oh,
Valid.
yes. Valid.
Okay,
Yeah.
and not that I should ever be supporting other podcasts or YouTubers on here, but my kids are currently obsessed.
supporting them.
Okay, there's one that my husband and I watch it, and then my kids have been watching it. And it's Matt Pat, and he does film theory and food theory in this. And the food theory is actually quite safe for kids, but there's one all about why Elmo is mad at a rock. And I never even liked Elmo, but he's like this whole thing about how Elmo's mad at a rock, and it all traces back to Big Bird's imaginary friend Snuffleupagus and how that had unintended consequences of adults not believing children possibly about things like child molestation. So they had to kind of change it. And then there's now a Muppet with an imaginary friend, and the imaginary friend is a rock, and the rock gets like all the good things, and she basically uses the rock to torture the living daylights out of Elmo. And not that we don't all kind of want to do that because most of us hate Elmo, but poor Elmo.
I like the twisted psychological fiction in there.
Yes.
Like,
There
That
is.
was long. That was
Honestly.
like a very convoluted psychological way
Yeah,
to get to the rock.
It's like a 25-minute video that I just summed up in about 40 seconds.
You did good.
So
You did very
if
good.
it didn't make sense, I apologize. Matt
It
Pat
made
is
sense.
much more
Rock,
eloquent.
Elmo, child abuse, Snuffleupagus.
Yeah.
You got it.
Snuffleupagus.
Yeah.
It's all good. Well, and we had the discussion. My husband's younger than me. I am a mini cougar, rar. So he did not ever remember that Snuffleupagus was never seen by anybody but Big Bird because that happened like in 84 or 85. So by the time he was watching it, people could see Snuffy. But when I was little, people could.
Yeah, they couldn't see.
No,
I
they
remember
could
that
not.
giving me like anxiety when I was
Yes.
little. I'm like, he was just there.
I mean, it doesn't help that that kind of stuff was done to me too. That like there was a show I watched that my mom and my sister denied I ever watched, and it took probably 30 years before they're finally like, oh wait, you mean that show? You weren't supposed to be watching that show.
What?
But they just denied it didn't exist. Yeah, the show, it was Madam's House, something like that. And it was about a creepy old lady puppet. And you're talking about Pinwheel, right? I'm like, no, not Pinwheel, but it was on for one season. And it was like an old, crass, old lady puppet who had like Corey Feldman's on the show. Look it up on IMDb. It is not something I'm making up. I am not on crack
I
cocaine right
believe
now.
you.
Okay, let me add that to my note with the Find You the Museum in San Diego.
Yeah, no, and it's like called like Madam's House, something like that. I'm literally
That's so
on
weird. Okay.
I have no recollection of that.
Maybe it's just called Madam.
But this is probably why you're scared of puppets. Maybe.
Well, there's lots of reasons I'm scared of puppets, and I'm sure my sister is probably a lot of it, but that's okay.
Yeah.
See, I'm just gonna look up Corey Feldman because I know he was in it. Because the rest of the people, I don't really remember what
That's
what
so
any of them
crazy.
were. But it was a Hannah Rod puppet that was on for one season, and then it got pulled off. And I think probably because people don't want to watch a show about a real like scary puppet. I'm scrolling down here, and it also then showed Greg the Bunny, which is another one, which I'm sure in 20 years people are like, what? Sarah Silverman was on a puppet show? And I'm like, Sarah Silverman was on a puppet show. Madam's Place, yeah. And Corey Feldman played Buzzy St. James, and it was on in 1982.
Buzzy St. James is an amazing
character
name or like drag name.
It's a great name.
Buzzy St. James.
So Madam's
Place.
But I also spent probably 15 years looking for a movie called Rock and Roll that I just couldn't find anywhere. But thanks to the internet, I have proved it does exist. So thank you, internet, for proving I'm not as crazy as my parents made me think I was.
So Kim, I'm wondering, you spent time with mediums when doing your research. Are you a believer?
I'm a skeptical believer. And the reason I say that is
What
there's
is a
so many
believer answer. A skeptical
well,
believer.
because part of me is like, when I was growing up, I had huge, weird imagination. Like I would see people's gloved hands coming around my door and opening them. And I'd wake my brother up and make him go get a baseball bat. And then he'd be like, did the dogs bark? I'm like, no. He's like, oh. And he'd like, the bat would come at me. Because so no, I've seen ghosts throughout my whole life. The first set of ghosts I saw was when I was in 2nd grade and I was sitting on the battlefield in Gettysburg.
Do you guys see a plane?
Yeah, we see a plane.
Okay, good. It's not imaginary. It's just a toy. We're good.
Yeah, so I was sitting there and a whole set of soldiers came running and they ran through me down the
Gettysburg
hill.
Is so freaking
It's
haunted.
the most one of the most haunted places. So
How are you skeptical after that? How are you not just a full-on believer? Because that's amazing.
I'm skeptical sometimes of my imagination doing other things, and I'm skeptical of so many people who are frauds and tricksters and how they do their things. But in terms of ghosts, I've seen way too many. I had one in this house I moved into, and it was I had whole conversations with her. I contacted a friend of mine who is a medium, and I said, hey, I see ghosts and I don't want to. Because I would see like this guy on the corner by the bus stop at my other house and be like, oh yeah, that's a ghost. And then people would be like, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh yeah, he's not there, but I saw him, and yeah. So this one at my house, I had a whole thing had conversations with her. Then it's like, she really needs to move on. So I contacted my friend. She helped me figure out that and said that she said they're drawn to you. So you need to be like, push aside.
Yeah, you have to kind of put up a wall.
Okay, so if I was just drawn to you, did she tell you what to do to make them, I don't know, less drawn to you?
The interesting thing was it was to listen. And it was right before Christmas when we moved in here, and we moved into the master bedroom, and I went around to bed and there was a column of cold air and I went, oh shit.
Yeah.
There's a ghost. And, but dogs don't always bark at them. Other people don't feel or see them. And then like just days of the sheet flipping up and down on my face, sitting on the bed, pulling the blanket up. And finally I was like, I just started talking to the ghost. And I saw her, I was on the phone with my dad once and I saw her running around the tree. I call her because she seemed like a young girl running around the tree. I'm like, oh Dad, there's a ghost around the tree. He's like, what? I'm like, I'm fully awake. There's a ghost running around my tree outside. So
yeah,
but I talked to her and I said that, there's a way, you just tell them, you can go, there's other places you can go. And she eventually went, and now I miss her.
Yeah. So we have a ghost in our house and I do talk to her sometimes. She's usually pretty quiet. Every once in a while I hear her pacing around upstairs. Every few months she gets like a little noisy. Like I say, a little noisy, like knocking on the insides of the walls. The dog gets real active. Like he starts staring at weird things and barking, and we're just like, so then I talk to her and I'm just like, you're scaring the dog. We love your house. I'm glad. Thank you for designing it.
And then she stops, right?
Then she stops for a while. And the woman who designs the house that I live in, she was a poet and a photographer way back. So like she's very creative. And I think this is the first time that 2 other artists have lived in the house. So I think when we first moved in, there was like all this energy, and she was just like, yay. And then we were like, okay. Yay.
How do you do it? How do you keep them at bay?
I talk to them. And other times if I'm, especially like if I'm in a specifically haunted location, like if I'm in a haunted prison or an old hospital or something, it's a place I'm like exploring or something like that. I do kind of have to put up a wall. Like I have like this imaginary shield that I can describe it. It's like a burnished bronze, and I can put that up really quickly if I start to feel like overwhelmed emotionally, because I get like kind of panicky sometimes.
Wow.
And I will just add in there though that Jennifer seeks all these places out, so it's not like she's just ending up there. This is part of her vacation plan. I found a haunted asylum. It'll be loads of fun. So I mean,
I know people are like, what did you do in Prague?
Bronze
And I'm
ready?
like, I went to an executioner's house.
Yeah, no, but that's exactly it. That's kind of the thing you go looking for. So I'm glad you have that ready to go, because I think I've had one semi-paranormal encounter in my life, and I would say it's more likely to have been like a glitch in the Matrix, where I remember my dad coming home in the middle of the day, didn't see him, but I heard him speak. And then when he came later, I'm like, wait, you were already home like 3 hours ago. And he's like, no, I wasn't. And my mom didn't weigh in on it. And so I don't know whether she believed it happened or not. She's dead now, so I can't ask her unless I have a medium. So again, no answers. But I don't seek those kind of places out because I'm really easily freaked out. And my sister swore the house that we lived in from like when I was maybe 13 on, and then my dad sold the house a couple years after my mom passed away, that there was a ghost in her room, but I didn't usually sleep in that room. But I always made sure that there was something covering. There were some little crawl spaces in the back. I'm like, yeah, no, that cannot be exposed.
You know, I was
spaces should never be exposed.
Yeah, no, I was in Vegas once, and we stayed in one of the old hotels, and we stayed in the original hotel. So there was the big skyscraper, and then there was the original hotel.
The original building, yeah.
Yeah, so it's all still done very 60s with all big palm fronds on the wallpaper and on the bedspread and everything. So we walked in, and I looked around. I said, I cannot stay here. Someone was killed in this room. I cannot do it. I can't be in this room. And I literally walked out the door and went in and said, I have to stay in the new building. So most of the time I will try and stay in new anything.
Well, I think that's also a choice.
That was an awful place. Whatever it was, it was terrible.
Oh yeah, but to sleep there, to be going, I'm going to sleep in, best to snow.
Yeah,
that would be too much.
Awful. I was like, I can't, no way can I be in here.
Yeah, not where something that violent may have happened. That's
Tanya's adding her. Oh my God, Kim! I don't think that was how Tanya would have said it, but that's how I said it. Mine is more of a Muppet. I apologize. Oh my God! Oh my God! But I think that whole there are people who. Which voice? Oh, see, that's
Kim
not one of the voices I usually do. It's not the one that my kids make me do all the time.
And then Kim did something. Kim, do your voice.
No, I'm not going to do
it. I like, oh my God. What was that?
We don't know. You guys bring out the weird things in me. Like voices.
That was talking about like serious, like, and then you were in a room where somebody was murdered, and then you were.
I'm just holding the plane for reasons. Like,
it's like you carrying the plane. You did the plane. What the world?
The birds, plane, Superman.
That's a thing. We'll just have to bring up Wonder Woman then.
It's Wonder Woman.
That's perfect. You can't say that psychic things aren't real. We like mind melded and had something in there.
With our prop comedy, we have problems. That's fine.
I know. I was thinking, I'm so sad that I don't have a prop for this show.
We talked about that in Kim's book. There are two leading ladies, and we have dual POV. But let's not leave out the gentleman. Well, there's a couple gentlemen, but the gentleman who's just in there and just stirring the pot, and the number of times I wanted to smack him. Was that an intentional choice to make their readers, at least female readers, want to go smack the man in the book?
Dear Russell.
I wanted to smack him.
I liked Russell.
He's very handsome and funny and
I would say, as somebody who did theater on a professional and non-professional level, I feel like we've all met Russell.
We've all met Russell.
I think
But
I
he's
was
based
married
on
to him
all-
for a while. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
I'm like,
my
we've
problem.
all-
He's based on actors I know.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I know that person. I find him very charming. I'm, back in the day, may or may not have slept with that person.
Right. Right.
I did.
There were enough check boxes similar to my ex-husband that I'm just like,
You don't like
But
it. She hated Russell.
I would shut the book, but I was reading it on a PDF on my computer, and that would trigger me off. So I did not. But there were enough times, and even just like how the charm was like, oh, he's giving that smile that he gives to her. Oh, he's giving it to. Oh, I would have stabbed him if I could. Maybe I did.
That's Clementine's weakness, isn't it? Is needing that love, whether it's given to her or not.
Isn't that all of our weaknesses? Okay, maybe that's just me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we'll know more about Clementine after you write that short story about her.
Yeah, let me just add that to my list.
Yeah, right under find.
I'm hoping in November or December to write that. And I was like, I'll put it out for Christmas. I'm like, no, you don't put out a story about Clementine and her automatons for Christmas.
There's a market for that.
You do.
Look, not everybody wants the cheery, fuzzy Christmas novellas with hot cocoa on the cover, and everybody.
I don't. When those start coming out, I turn off the bookstore stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yes, the ghost stories.
Well, I mean,
giving me new ideas. Now I have to write that down too.
Think about it. The most famous Christmas story really is a ghost story.
It is, and it's a brilliant ghost story. So it's very good.
Yep.
Thank you.
So there you go. Clementine and her automatons, A Christmas Miracle by Taylor Blakemore.
There will be miracles.
A very Clementine Christmas.
There you go.
Tanya's confirming. Brits do ghost stories on Christmas. See, there you go. The British say. Okay. Tanya's not British.
And New Hampshire.
We're going to trust her on this.
And New Hampshire is in New England. So there you go. Right. Ghost stories for Christmas.
Close enough.
Close enough. So Kim, what are you working on now? Are we going back to Harrowborough?
Harborough.
I know I can't. I'm from New Hampshire. I can't do the New Hampshire. I can't do the New Hampshire accent.
I can't do one either. I was castigated by the narrator of The Companion, who's from Keene, who said, you're pronouncing your own town incorrectly.
It's Harborough. Yeah.
I was like, okay, I better fix that.
It's because I'm
so we went through and
she
told me how to pronounce very specific things in the book. So that was good. I am researching a World War II thriller that's about two women in the German resistance, one who is Jewish and one of the last Jews in Berlin, and the other who is an SS officer's wife, and how they work together.
Oh.
Yeah.
When you said World War II, I was like, oh, so modern for you.
I know, it's so modern.
Yesterday.
So I'm researching that now, and I have the ginormous stack of books to read on that.
Well, it's clear how much research you do, and I love that you go for these primary sources and chase around actual ghosts and interview them. I mean, maybe that's not part of it, the interviewing actual ghosts, but that would be kind of cool if you could.
That'd be cool if I could. Really cool. No, they're actually, for the book I'm working on, there's a memorial museum in Berlin to the Germans who did resist during World War II. And so I'm in contact with them, and they have, I'm hoping to meet somebody. If
are you going to go
live?
We're all like, are you going to go?
I don't know if I'll be able to get to Berlin, but their site is incredible, and it's in English and German, thank goodness. So
you don't sprechen Sie Deutsch?
I don't speak.
That's literally the only German I know, other than occasionally words I've picked up from watching Man in the Heights.
I know how to say du bist eine Vogel, which means you are crazy, and Vogel is actually also the word for bird.
So you're a bird?
Yeah, you're a crazy bird.
Vogel.
Is it like loon?
Yeah, kind of like loon.
Specifically the bird?
No, it just means a bird.
I mean, how many words do we have that they mean crazy and they're words for birds? Cuckoo, loon.
Yeah.
Those are the only two I have.
Those are two.
Hummingbird doesn't mean anything as far as I know. You're an emu. Maybe that means something in other places. I don't know.
You crazy chickadee. Yeah, I don't know.
Crazy chickadee. You're such a rooster. Cock means something completely different. We're not.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
This is rated G this time.
Yeah.
We won't go there. Make that plane go by again. Let's change the subject.
Yeah.
There we go.
Different kind of bird.
There we go. So is that going to be your next release? The
She's
is that going to be your next release? Is going to be the World War II book, or are we going to have something else from you before?
Well, it sounds like I want a short story in there that's happening.
You may have a short story in there before that. So
Kim, when you release short stories, where would we find them? Because obviously we look for books.
Well, I haven't released a short story before because I've never written one. So this will be a good thing.
So we get the announcement.
I'm writing a short story. It's 209 pages long. Because I don't know how to write them.
Clearly. Well, and
every
do
book
I.
I've ever written, a lot of us don't. Like, this is a short story. And then I'm like, it's not. It's a novel.
Yeah, so I'm reading this book on short stories about one thing. And like, okay, that's fine. I will put it out on Amazon when I do it.
Whenever that is. You're like looking at us for answers. We don't know, Kim.
I am. I'm like, can you tell me what date should I have it out?
Look, we're in favor of
what's it about?
What is my story about, and when is it being released? And the title again? Oh yes, A Very Clementine Christmas. Correct.
A Very Clementine Christmas. It's coming out on Christmas, and it's got one thing: Clementine.
It's got Clementine. I have the cover, and it's called Clementine before, so I just need the short story to go with it.
Yeah, just write the words. Now it just.
Look, I know that Neil Gaiman pitched American Gods with just the title, so it's like, there you go. All you need is a title. The rest of the stuff will just show up.
Yeah, it just shows up. That's fine. That's what happens.
I've tried that. It doesn't work. So
it doesn't work at all.
It doesn't work at all. No. It can work. It just takes a while.
But you're like, the title is so fantastic.
I know. Last night I was talking to my husband and I came up with, and I'm not going to say it because I think there could be something there. And I'm like, oh, that's a great title for a book. And then I'm like, what would that be about?
You're like,
I don't know.
You just need to keep that down, because I will not divulge any secrets, but I know the book that you've been working on for a long time pretty much started as a title more than anything else.
Really?
So
yeah.
That's kind of, and that's not normally how Jen works, but nothing
not
about
at all.
Book is
that started with me going, what if I wrote a book called blah, blah, blah?
But you're not giving us the title. You're being like super mysterious about the title.
Yeah, because it doesn't even have a plot yet.
I told you mine. I told you my title that has no plot.
Mine. I'll show you yours.
No, I can't say the title of the book that is about to go out on submission. I can't say
your agent will murder you, and she'll blame
my
me
agent
for
doesn't know
my
to say the
title.
I
have a title for the book that I'm writing that it's maybe halfway done, maybe a little more than that. And I'm going, this is the perfect title, but it's also an album. And I don't know if we're allowed to do that, but it's like, you can't copyright a book title, but if it's recognized as an album, I don't know. I can be told to change it. I'm just like, but I kind of like it as it is. And I don't know whether we're allowed to do that.
What is it?
I'll tell you after we're off.
Oh my gosh.
But I will tell you. I will tell you.
I told you my title.
I'll tell you my title after we're not live.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, there we go.
Yes.
All right.
I will tell you that I will tell you the title of the book that I have out on Query, and I will tell you it has been botched by my own voice to type to about 80 different things. But it's Terra Confictura, which lately has become Terra Con Victoria. So it sounds like it's a salsa now, like La Victoria salsa. Like, this is what happens when I make up words, and then including my children's names. It also botches my own children's names. It gets Fiona right usually, but my other two. Yeah.
Well, I will say this before we go. My husband, his name is Roman Seratin, but every time I try to type it, it autocorrects to Norman Sirloin.
I said it was going to autocorrect to serotonin.
No,
I would like serotonin.
That would be
I
great.
like Norman Sirloin.
I know. I always tell him, like, that's your male stripper name.
Your stripper name.
Like,
Sirloin.
As a vegetarian,
that goes with Buzzy St. James.
Buzzy St. James and Norman Sirloin in
it's the next Christmas story.
Another
Christmas story.
Christmas.
It's also it's a drag show. It's a drag brunch over in Palm Springs. I'd go to that.
Buzzy's first Christmas.
Buzzy's first Christmas.
See, if you say fuzzy, so you say Buzzy, but I hear fuzzy and I think of Fuzzy Stone from Cider House Rules. Anybody remember that but me? Probably just me. That's fine. Yeah. John Irving, but all the kids, they like named each other, and they had it's an orphanage, so that's how you get a kid named
so
Fuzzy
long
Stone.
ago. It's just scaring me that I read that. And
I read it too, and now I'm like, no idea. I think I've read it twice. Nope,
Yeah,
everything's
I read it like 30 years ago, but I have a memory that doesn't know where my shoes are right now, but I can tell you an obscure fact from like 40 years ago. Super helpful.
Do you guys have that thing when you're in the middle of a book and you're writing? So you're just writing and working on the story, and you literally have no words in real life. So like you're wanting to iron, and you're like, "Where's the lamp?"
Okay, is that why I'm like that?
I like mime things.
That thing that you use to eat that in the bowl in the morning.
I'm like, I need to make the clothes not wrinkle. Like,
I know. I'll just point at stuff and just keep pointing. I'm like, that, the thing, there, that. And
yeah, because I think our head is just so full of words.
It's full of words. It happens.
But these operate differently than this. So these very rarely fail. Sometimes they don't type very well, but they generally don't forget what words are. But from here to here, and I mean, I know there are people who are nonverbal, and it's because this is a different thing than this, and they can type out eloquently, but you ask them to say something in real life, and it's like, I'm gonna go type this. Hold on, and it's just it's different.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Crazy. Well, Kim, we have loved talking to you again. We could just
Thank you.
chat away, and we'll probably turn this off and then keep chatting about our book titles later on. But Kim, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you,
everybody, for watching us live or watching us on the replay. I don't know if
and anyone listening, we apologize.
I know if you were listening live or watching live, just sorry about all this stuff happening. The birds and the planes and the Wonder Womans.
Wonder Woman.
Stay tuned next week when we will be talking to Simon Stevenson and his new medical thriller. Oh my gosh.
Sometimes people die.
Yeah.
Which I was reading at my doctor's visit last week. Not the best book to bring in. I took a photo because I'm like, why not?
It was a good Bookstagram picture. All right, everybody. We will see you all next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.